We are live. I think we all clicking on all cylinders. Peace, family. It has been a minute. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. I see we got some family members in the building. Peace, sis. How we doing? I know you over there cooking. This is going to be a really good class. Really good seminar as well. And this is for people who may be already used to opening up a business, starting a business. It doesn't matter whether you've had experience or you don't have experience. I promise you, you're going to actually learn something today. And then for those who, understand that you do get a tribal business and whatnot, you're going to understand the process a little bit more clear from A to Z, right? And you're also going to learn some things in between that you need to be doing. So this is going to be a catch-all 22. So peace, everybody. Peace. Bring your questions because this is going to be that video that when you don't hear, hey, Kojo, I have a question about the business. How do you? I'm going to just send you a video. This is what this video is going to be for, right? But we're also going to talk about a few other things I think will also be, I know, pretty useful to maybe investigate as well. I always got to talk about the investment opportunities and whatnot. So overall, bring your questions, whether it pops up in your head, whether it comes up at the end, middle, it doesn't matter. We're going to take our time with this. I may even show some documents in between as well, just so that we make sure that we understand what we're doing out here. Okay, this is very important. Peace, pieces. How you doing? Okay, so without further ado, I know I was about 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late. So apologies about that. I know the stream starts at 8:10, but I wanted it to start at 8. So without further ado, let me get this on my screen. Y'all can see my screen? All right. This is Indigenous Business Operations in 2025. I know some of you have seen videos from 2023, even some banking procedures from 2020, right? Some of those things have changed, right? So we're gonna go through that and just make sure that we are crystal clear. So during this seminar today, we're going to talk about indigenous business operations, but as well as an investment idea, like I talked about at the beginning. And so we're going to take our time walking through some of these things to make sure that you guys understand exactly what to do and why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. So the first thing I always tell people to do, right, is to breathe. You'd be surprised how some people get nervous, when it comes to even just something so simple as a bank account, opening up a bank account, because they're getting drilled, they're getting questioned, all this stuff, and they're like, "Hey, what do I do, Coach?" And they calling me while they're at the bank, right? And they're like, "Was I supposed to give them this? Do I have this?" And it's like, breathe and don't forget to read. Like, that's very important. You got to know what you have. If you don't think you got something, just go back to the email or go back to the jurist or the person that actually worked and created your business. That's very important because you need to grasp the documents that you're actually utilizing. You need to be confident in what you're doing. If they see a chink in your armor, they'll test you. They'll see if you're really knowing what you're doing. Do you understand what you actually are doing? And are you following instructions? Peace, family. You in the building. Peace, peace, peace. So we're going to just make sure that this is crystal clear. So, yeah. So this is always I always tell people to do. Okay. Also on the bulletin, while we're here, just as a recap, we did have the health fair. That was awesome. Went well. Appreciate those family members who attended to learn how to, improve their health and things of that nature. We'll probably do another one sometime in January. But in the meantime, we have the Ramadan ball, but we also have have Ramadan in December. Where that's also where we do the Book of You series. So it's going to be a really really good series this year. We have the Honor Ball, December 28th through the 31st. I'm sure there may be some more, but I think that's the only thing I know of, right? We also potentially may have a Hawaii party in February of 2026. So stay tuned for those things. Just got to give everybody an update on that. Okay. Let's start with the documents you need. I know you're like, well, I already know all this. You dang Skippy, Hawaii Fiesta, 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 Fiesta. It's gonna be crazy. Okay, so why did I start off, with some of the mindsets and things of that nature? Because this is how some of y'all be at these banks whenever they hit you with a question. What type of business is it? This is how y'all act. Y'all be so confused. Y'all be like, I start glitching. So this is the document you should have, right? EIN, dot tax certificate, articles, W-9, meeting minutes. I know you're like, well, they'll be like, what meeting minutes? It's okay. Just use ChatGPT to generate that. It's not that big of a deal, right? I'm serious. This is how people be active. Like whenever they hit them with a question, you laugh, but I'm very, very serious. So, with that being said, if they really are asking for meeting minutes, which most of them do, um, I know we give those out, within the region, but it doesn't matter. You can always get it generated through ChatGPT or some AI, Google. It doesn't matter. You just need meeting minutes. And then the dot tax certificate, I'll show you what that looks like. And then the fictitious name registration for any other businesses besides the LLC and the tribal FBO. Okay. Those you're going to do a business registration with the state. And there's a particular reason why, because the tribal FBO, that's part of the process. We show you how to actually fill it out, via online or in person. There's templates out there that we can send to you that you should get. And then obviously with the state registration, the person can do it for you or you can do it yourself. So that's very important. So I just want to make sure that everybody understood that. And I'm going to pull out just kind of an example. I'm going to share my screen just real quick, just to make sure everybody understands what I'm showing you. All right. So hopefully everybody is doing well this evening. Where are you? Okay. Let's see if it'll pull up my screen for me. And then I'm going to share what that looks like. Just in case. Oh, okay. We glitching today? Oh, okay. Share. Okay. Here's what, that would look like, right? This is what this tax cert would look like from our tribe, right? So you'll get this and it'll be stamped and sealed by the jurist servicing you, right? So these are the documents that I just want to make sure you should know and understand that you're going to get: the EIN, the dot tax certificate. So the dot tax certificate is the one in the corner. I don't know, it may be hard to see. So I may try to see if I can pull out an example. Just to make sure that people know. Where are you? Sometimes when you be looking for it, you be missing in action. All right. Let me show you this. Let me not make sure that people's info is just not being shared. Hopefully it should do it right. So let me stop sharing that. I'm gonna take that down for a little bit. This is gonna be a long video. So don't be mad at me today. But I want to make sure I take my time with this, right? So yo, peace, sis, you in the building. Peace, God, peace. Peace. I just want to make sure I just acknowledge everybody coming through and taking the time to come to the seminar. Okay, so this is the dot tax certificate that you'll see that you'll get. Obviously, it looks different because it's 2025. They've changed the system, so it doesn't look like this. It actually looks quite different. But you'll get something like this. That's the Department of Treasury tax certificate, right? That shows that this entity is either tax exempt tribal entity or a tax exempt tribal FBO. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you see that. Again, this is for people who you may have gotten a business, you may have purchased a business, or you are nationalized and you are getting your business documents. Peace, God, you in the building? Oh yeah, we're gonna take our time. We're gonna take our time because I just want to make sure that everybody is crystal clear. Okay, and the fictitious name registration, it's pretty straightforward. You're just putting. Let me see if I can find one. Let me just. I don't want no confusion, y'all. So fictitious. I'm gonna share what some of that looks like, just kind of in Texas. Fictitious name registration, just so you can see. You can do it online, or and sometimes they also call it assume name. The same thing, right? I just want to make sure I share this. Share my screen right here. Here's what the assumed name certificate looks like in Texas. So you're going to put the name that you're going to be conducting business, right? The legal name for that same entity, right? It's the same name, right? And then you're going to click one of these options, right? You're going to click this one, and you're going to put what type of entity you have, right? And then this is if you did a file number with the Secretary of State. You didn't, so that would be NA. The state, you'll put the state that is formed in. You'll put the mailing address, whether it be the PO box or the mailing address, right? And then the period during which the assumed name will be used for 10 years of this, or you'll pick one. And then all counties except or only in the following counties. So that's the whole point. So once you do this, you'll sign it, then you'll turn it in or you'll fill it out online. Either way, it's the same thing. And then you'll pay the fee of like between $15 to $25. That makes sense? That's all you're going to do. So, all right. Now that you've seen that, when it comes to your documents, that you have everything. Hold on. I really got to make sure that we go over this too, just because. And this is going to be a pop quiz for people. I just want to know if y'all are paying attention. I just need to know. I need to know if everybody is paying attention, because this happens and I don't know how else to explain it. But people be freaking out when they get hit with that question. So let me see if I can pull it up. And we're gonna find out who's paying attention today. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let me share my screen. I know y'all like Hoja. You really are. I am taking time on this one because I don't need no confusion. All right. So chat. For those who are paying attention, I have one question. If you got this document, what type of entity is it? Just put it in the chat. You can shorten it. You don't have to type out the whole thing, but just what type of entity is this? I just need to know to see if you're paying attention. What type of business is this? Can somebody tell me? 1 minute within the chat, otherwise we'll move on. What type of business is this? Chat. Do y'all know? There we go. We got somebody in there who knows exactly. Oh, see, and this is what I'm talking about. What else is in the chat? I just gotta know. What else? There we go. Yeah, there we go. We seen some of the answers, right? This is very important, and this is not to this is the teachable moment, right? So the answer is general partnership, right? But we had somebody that said unincorporated, and that's no No disrespect or anything like that. But you just gotta read. That's where it goes back into the beginning what we were talking about. This is a general partnership. It'll tell you at the top what type of business that you have, right? General partnership. This is a general partnership, not incorporated, right? So this is why I think it's very important to make sure that you understand and you actually read what documents you get. And if you didn't get a document, then you will contact the person that you need to contact, right? If they don't respond, give them a couple of days. If they don't respond, then contact, um, somebody else on the jurist list to say, hey, can you contact them, right? And if they don't, then you file a complaint. So that's an example of why I just want to make sure everybody understands that this, because I don't want you to end up at the bank looking like this. Okay. So now that we got that squared away, right? Now, when you're at the bank, you're like you're making your way. You're like tra la 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 la. You need two forms of identification. Why? Because they need to verify you, the account holder. Because otherwise, they're gonna be like, wait, I see another name on a driver's license. Then you're presenting me a tribal driver's license. So who? And then this is what you about to feel like this: death, right? You just gonna be like, oh, you all over the place. And I know I'm saying this like tongue in cheek, but this is very important. So the name that you have on your articles and your business, that's the form of IDs you need to carry. So whether it's your new name that you selected for those who are in the tribe and they've selected a new name and stuff like that, you need to get the court order name change. Along with the court order name change, then you'll need to update your social security number to reflect the new name, and then you need to reflect the driver's license, passport, and so on and so forth. But you just need two forms of identification. Very important. And it doesn't matter whether it's like the firearm, license or work ID, tribal ID, passport, driver's license. It just needs two forms. It could even be a debit card that says your name, right? And that I just want to make sure to drive that point home. Okay. Why? Real ID Act. That's really it. So that's why it's important for you to do the name change. Otherwise, it's not official, and they're not going to honor it. And this is a real thing. So you can't even fly without a real ID. So if you're gonna be flying, don't be flying with no anyway. Okay. Now this is also an important subject. I get this question a lot too. People are asking, how do you qualify a bank? Okay, well, here's just some of the things that I look for, right? Are they easy to do business with? That's very important. Because if it's very difficult, like you put in money, like let's say you put in $500, they're like, well, what is that? And then they freeze that transaction. You're like, wait, that was a deposit. They're like, well, we just got to make sure. But they're interrupting business flow, so they're not. It's not the ease of business. Let's say it was like $10,000 that was deposited in there. They're going to flag that. That's normal. But like $1,000, $500, that shouldn't be something they trip about. That's just a simple notification. Hey, you got a deposit. So ease of business. Are the people competent? Meaning you can go to them and they know what they're doing. So you go present the documents. Like, I don't know if I can really do this. Really doesn't look like we can actually do this, even though their website says that they can. Find a different bank. Are they nationwide for the most part? Meaning like even if you did do it, open an account with them, they have multiple locations relatively across the state. Any promotions? That's another thing too. Are they doing promotions? Because promotions could be really good where they like, hey, if you deposit like $500, we'll give you $300 or give you $400 if you let the money sit for X amount of days. That's not a bad deal. So, and then do they have like business credit while you open up the account? And then are they easily to do transactions domestic and internationally? Very important. These are questions that you got to be thinking like a business. This is very important. If you're thinking like, oh, I'm just trying to avoid taxes, I got to reframe your mind just a little bit. So that's why we're scrubbing very slowly. So that's very important to just kind of keep in mind. Yo, yo, yo. Peace, 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 peace. So let's move on to the next slide. So here's some banks that I recommend to investigate. I know. So there's like Key Bank, there's Bank of Texas, Oklahoma, PNC, First Citizens, Navy Federal, other local credit unions, Square, Cash App. Cash App it has a bank account. Same thing with Square. Um, you get a bank card. Some of the transactions when you withdraw money from Cash App, they'll cover those expenses. So you're not paying a withdrawal fee. Bum, 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 bum. You said, what are you talking about? Oh man, we're talking about business. We're talking about business operations. So what's another SunTrust? That's another one that you can also look into, right? So I'm just trying to give you ideas of bank accounts that you can think about investigating, looking. I know people are like, well, what about Bank of America and Chase? And it's cool. You can utilize those entities too. Um, I'm just giving you ones that don't have the fee and ease of doing business internationally. Right? That's I'm trying to get that in your head. Okay, so here's some objections that you need to be prepared for. Right? What type of business is this? So, we're not talking about entity. What type of business is this? And if you did not come prepared, I don't want you calling me saying, Coach, what type of business do I own? You should know what type of business you own. You should have thought about the business before going into the bank, what type of business you want to operate. And we're going to give you some ideas too, as far as like business ideas that you could do, some that are free, some that are not free. Just try to get you your idea thinking about, okay, how can I utilize these businesses? So think about what type of business you are using this entity for. I'm going to hit you with some questions. How many years have you been in business? Some of y'all are going to be like, years? Let me find my coins. That's how you're gonna be like you're gonna be scrambled. That's they're gonna hit you with a ball and you're gonna drop your rings. Is your business address in Atlanta? Some of y'all don't even know the answer. Huh? Is your business address in Atlanta? Huh? The answer is no, right? The address is what's on the articles, right? So if you go back to your articles, just to make it clear, you have a mailing address. Oh, let me move that real quick. You have a mailing address that you'll have listed on here, as well as your dot tax certificate. So I'm just trying to get you prepared for some of these questions that they'll ask you. Some of y'all may think like this is very minutiae what you're telling me until you go to the bank. Um, is this really a tribal business that's tax exempt? Hello. This is how y'all gonna react, and you're like, and we're gonna talk about that too, right? So you don't have to feel nervous, scared. Like everything is perfectly fine. Right? What type of business structure is this? Remember, we went over what type of business structure that they'll hit you with that too. They just want to see if you know what you're doing. They want to know if this is going to be a high risk business because I've seen it before. I've walked into a bank, opened an up account. They closed another person's account because it was a high risk because previously at a different bank, they withdrawed over $400 and the account was in the negative. So they're trying to avoid these things, even though the bank does not hold any money at all. They literally don't. They are required to hold no reserves. That's a law that I'm not making that up. But they still need to know because the bank is a business, right? And they need to make money. They're in the business of making money. They'll hit you with, I never opened up this type of account before. Do you have meeting minutes or meeting notes or bylaws? Remember, be prepared. If they're asking for bylaws on their website, just generate some bylaws that you could have Chat GPT do for you real quickly, right? We can't open up this account and we can't give you a reason. Some of y'all, when y'all hear that, y'all be like, damn. Y'all ready to throw in the towel. Y'all like, you know what? using that tonight. Y'all really feel like y'all died because y'all like, damn, like this is supposed to be simple. It happens. So does that make sense? And feel free to interrupt me anytime. Okay. I have to talk about this because again, I got to get your mindset to think like a business and operate as a business, not as somebody trying to not pay taxes, right? We're not avoiding anything. We don't have to. So the reason why you have a business bank account is so that it's separate from your personal operations and expenses, right? Because it's going to make your taxes simple if you're needing to pay taxes, right? And it also makes easy to track, keep up, and know what's going in and what's going out. And things aren't cross wiring, they're not, mixing up. Because here's some of the scenarios that have happened and that people have done. They've they called and they're like, hey, I'm at the tax office and I need to know how do I need to file taxes. And they're like, well, remember the business itself is tax exempt. So you as an individual are filing taxes for whatever reason, maybe to, you know, purchase real estate or just to, do it for some strategic purpose, right? You can obviously get that knocked down with donations and things of that nature, right? To reduce your burden. But that business itself is not filing taxes. You, the individual, is. So they're going to ask you, okay, well, how much did you get paid? And if you didn't keep that separated, where everything is just kind of, intertwining, like there was no clear separation that you got a stipend or a check from the business, right? Peace, God, you're in the building. If there was no clear separation, they're going to be confused. They'll be like, well, I don't know. And then it makes it really hard to tell what was considered income, right? So that's why I'm telling y'all to do all this stuff so that you understand that you need to have a personal that your business account is going to either pay you or compensate you for the work that you're doing. Capiche? Cool. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, this backs up what I just explained. It keeps everything squared away. You're professional with it because you have a business bank account that people can pay when you do contract services for them, and then you can know what's going into the business and what's coming out. You can track that stuff. You can also build business credit too, and then the auditing process is clear. So that's why I'm forcing y'all to like really grow up in this department because this is what's going to help you keep things squared. Okay. Why is it okay? Why are the businesses that we're operating, except for the tribal LLC, or the standard LLC and the tribal LLC? Why are these things? Well, the tribal LLC is tax exempt, but why is the standard LLC that we offer not tax exempt? It's not tax exempt because you have to get it registered through the Secretary of State, and therefore you have to pay state taxes. But it is a tribal business still, so it would be federally exempt, right? But these are the laws that really affirm why these businesses that we create within ARNA are exempt by law. You got the 14th Amendment, Section 2. It says representatives shall be apportioned among several states according to the respective numbers, creating a whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians, not taxed. Right? That's very important. That should be crystal clear to you. And then you can look it up specifically. You got the 49 statute 1542 dealing with the indigenous exemptions. And then you got USC 25412 federal jurisdiction and exemptions. And then you got Title 8, Section 1401, Clause B, and then the UNDRIP, and then the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. Okay? You can screenshot, you can save it, you can share with somebody that's like, hey, your business is not really tax exempt. You're going to have the boogeyman come after you because you didn't pay your taxes. It's like, nah, man, that don't apply to me. Just because of how you've registered your business regularly doesn't mean it applies to how we operate with our businesses, right? So, okay, all right. The type of businesses that we offer, I will make this clear. These are the only types of businesses that we offer. So if somebody says, "Yeah, what business? I got a corporation that somebody in Arna created," you might have lost your coins on that one because who who did that? Nobody, because we don't offer that at all. Okay. So these are the type of entities that we offer. You see them on the screen. We have Unicorp, we have Tribal LLC, Trust, Holding Company, Partnership, Religious, the 501c3s, and the 501ds, and then the 508c1as, right? These are the ones that we offer only. And then the standard LLC. That's it. If somebody says, "Oh, I got somebody created a," I'm trying to think of some other ones that come to my mind, but like we just don't do them. Okay, so keep that in mind. So just as a reminder, Unincorp, basically sole proprietorship. You do a DBA, fictitious name registration, all that stuff. The business is good for all 12 sectors that we talk about, ministries within Arna, right? And I know that's pretty vague, so that's why I'm gonna go to the specifics. Just a little bit of specifics. Okay. These are some type of businesses that you could do with the unincorporated association. These are business ideas. Now, this one costs a little bit of money, but it basically falls in with the 12 ministries. I'm just trying to give y'all an idea. Herbal shop, where you sell teas, tinctures, tonics, online markets. You can sell it on your website or at markets. Doesn't matter, right? You got freelance creative studios. So that means you could be doing logos, artwork, social media management, video editing, photography, all this other stuff. And you got mobile repair services. That means detailing cars, lawn care, delivery based work, Uber Eats, stuff like that, right? The idea behind this is that it's, direct product service sales, right? And you can also create subscriptions around that, kits, all this other stuff, right? You can offer workshops for people, one-on-one consultations to upsell things, creating custom formulas for specific people who are needing that, whatever you're offering. So this is trying to give you some ideas. These cost a little bit more. Here's some zero money ideas. Freelance AI assistant. All you're doing is using ChatGPT, Canva, Copy AI to either create posts, resumes for other people who necessarily may not have the time. And then you can get customers through Facebook, Reddit, Instagram. There's plenty of people, or even older businesses, right? Social media caption writer. Again, offer $10, $20 packs that you're selling that you utilize Canva templates. TikTok page review. You're basically doing reviews on TikTok, and you got free tools that you can use to basically make that happen. Just trying to give you ideas, right? But again, all has to be within your purpose, right? That you may get a discovery through cosmology, right? So, Tribal LLC. There's no need to get a Secretary of State registration unless there's some sort of licensing that you need, right? And you just want to still be tax exempt, right? Otherwise, you'll be paying state taxes, just like it says, right? Okay. Some ideas. These cost a little bit more, right? You could do native art, brand apparel, tribal construction, infrastructure firm, tourism, like guided tours. Literally, you get a bus, you get a specific land plot, you put all the indigenous things that you want or whatever you're trying to do, and then you just guide people throughout your, what makes that place so sacred or whatever, right? You could do those things. It's just the idea to get you to make money. So yeah, it's just something to think about. Then you got the trust. Same thing, right? Ideas that you can think about doing is like family asset protections services. So basically, you're holding the property for people, maybe vehicles, gold, intellectual property. It doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be some type of asset. It could be artwork, shoes, clothes, rare items. It right, crypto. But the whole point is asset protection trust that you're offering that service to basically be a custodian, and people pay you a particular fee. You can also do an educational trust where you basically fund scholarships. You could do that through the Aboriginal University. You could also offer educational courses. Again, if you become a professor, you could do that. Or you could actually provide some sort of grants through the university, right? Or just in general. That's just an idea, right? You got land stewardship trust. That means people can either lease, rent your land for whatever use they're trying to do, whether it be agriculture, spiritual, events. You get the idea. The idea is that you collect rent, you have licensing royalties, and you receive some type of dividend monthly. And then you charge a management fee or consulting fees or whatever the case is, right? So these cost a little bit more, right? But you get the idea. I'm just trying to get your brain turning, right? Got a question. Are Roths included in tribal businesses? Are you talking about like Roth IRAs? Because if you're trying to opening up an account with like let's say Fidelity or Charles Schwab, that's like a Roth IRA. That's just a type of account that they open. You can utilize the tribal businesses to open up Roth IRA accounts or Roth accounts. You can do that. There's a particular way you need to fill it out, though. Um, but I think no. Sorry, we double back that. You can have a Roth IRA account as a tribal member, and it'd be fine and dandy. But usually Roth IRAs are tax exempt accounts to begin with, so you wouldn't necessarily pay taxes on those. But if you open up a brokerage account, you can utilize a tribal business to actually do that, and it would be tax exempt. They have a particular application. We've talked about that before. Oh shoot, my laptop died, y'all. I'm tripping. This laptop would have straight up died. So you could do it that way. I probably need to do an updated one on opening up a an account. I know we have Brother Shabazz has also done one as well too. But yeah, hopefully that answers that. Okay, cool. Moving on that. Zero money ideas for trust ideas. Everybody usually in the beginning before we switch to FBOs um, had a trust. So you could do digital archives for people. So basically, people's genealogy. Let's say people, records, photos, documents, papers, um, things that are some type of genealogy connection. You could offer that as a service saying, hey, I could be your digital um, archiver to convert those things into digital. And then I could be the custodian for you and for your family for a nominal fee monthly, making sure it's secure, everybody has access to it, and things of that nature. And you literally can do that, and then you can accept donations. You can put ads on a particular on your website to just kind of generate interest for people. Again, you can do the online. What about commissioned IRA? Hold on, let me. What about commissioned IRA broker for portfolio management? I think that's the same. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. Commission IRA. Okay. Bum 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 bum. So it's basically like a Yeah. So IRA account, it's the same thing. So if you were to do that, open a IRA, Fidelity, I'll pull up the application. So just like a traditional IRA. Dun, 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 dun. Give me a second. Just want to make sure I answer that question correctly. Boom, 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 boom. Open up a traditional. Say no. Okay. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same process as the a Roth IRA, but you say commissioned IRA broker. So you basically want to manage other people's uh, assets or stocks and stuff like that. Let me make sure we're gonna do this live. Mm-hmm. Hmm. So just to make sure I understand your question. So you want to you're wondering about commissioned IRA broker. So like, are you saying you're going to be the broker, or you're opening an account just like an IRA? Because usually most of these brokerages, Fidelity, they have zero commission. Even like Robinhood, it's like zero commission, except for like option contracts and stuff like that. But again, if it's just for yourself, if you're national, you should be able to open up an account, utilizing your status and not be able to pay taxes. Same thing with the Roth IRA. It's the same thing with just a regular brokerage account where you're trading stocks, ETFs, options contracts. But with the brokerage account, you just be utilizing the business, and you can open up a business that's tax exempt because they have it on the application for Fidelity. I'm trying to see if I can see it. Application on PDF. Because they have it on the application. I just want to make sure to see if this is the same one. Where are you? Because most of this stuff is transitioned into online. Oh, here it is. Cool. Individual. If it'll let me zoom in. Great. Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen. Yeah, so you're a broker. Okay. Yeah, so I imagine you have to have some type of license. So if you have to have some type of license, then obviously you're going to have to pay the state fee, right? And depending on what their rules are for brokers, whether you have to have an LLC or something like that of that nature, you're going to have to basically comply with whatever the state rules for brokerages. So if you needed to have an LLC specifically with a license, then you could get a tribal LLC that you basically full details, um, open up the or utilize that entity. It obviously is registered to the state, so you would pay state taxes for that entity. But overall, you would have to pay federal for the time being. But you have to pay the state because you have to register that business to maintain some form of licensing. But if you're doing it non-licensed, I just want to make sure, because you say I don't handle the setup of the portfolio. Well, this sounds like a detailed question. And non-licensed. When it comes to brokerage or brokers, I thought usually most brokers have to have some form of licensing. But if you're acting as the middleman and you don't actually manage it, then that might be a little different. So you have to give me some details on that. How personal assets like crypto, silver, or gold to a trust? Okay, let me see if I can show you. Answer that question for you. Uh, uh, uh. Let's see, where are you? I want to show you an example of what we do, and it's basically the same concept. Where are you? I think it's this one, right? Yeah. Let me open up this one. Yeah. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. So there's a couple of ways you go about it, right? But let me take that off stage. So I'm going to take this off stage for a second. And I'm going to answer your question. Stop that screen. Share this screen. Where are you? Okay. All right. Here's one way you're going about it. You have an amendment to your trust. You're wanting crypto to your trust. Property is being added to the trust. You put crypto, silver, bonds, stocks, ETFs, artwork, whatever. Or if you're withdrawing stuff from your trust, you would utilize the same verbiage, right? Once you do that, again, people who are nationals, right? Then you would have this notarized, because if this is not notarized, this is not a legal working document, right? So whatever you're withdrawing or whatever you're adding, you would have some verbiage of this sort, that you're competent, you're that, and then you declare that, whatever it is, and then you put your name. That's how we do it, right? You should get this. You should have received this, and if you don't, just go back to your jurist, and they should be able to get that for you. But that's how you would do that. You may have received as a national before we went to the FBOs, the faith-based organizations. It's the same concept. So if you opened up a brokerage account with that entity, so all assets with that entity, you would those things being added to the trust. So not only do you have it where the actual, because like I'll show you my screen, this other screen, just so you see what I'm talking about. Boom, boom, boom. Share tab. I think it's this one, right? Wow. Yeah. Let me see. Is this the account registration? Try to make sure this is the right one. This may be a different one. Dun, dun, dun. This might be something different. But basically, you're going to fill out a Fidelity account for the business. So they have it for the business. So let me stop sharing this real quick. Business. Just so I know I'm not tripping. Because it should be here. Because now it's mostly online. But here it is. Let me see. This is the right one. Brokerage business certification. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to your question. I'm going to hit a couple of people's questions. However, licensed in insurance. Oh, okay. Okay. So you just refer people to the financial company. You're not licensed. So it's the middle person. You can, I'm trying to think. You wouldn't have an account with like these broker institutions unless it's something outside of what you're doing as referrals. but you out with that entity, whether it be Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or whoever. Um, but as far as trying to manage other people's assets, that's not your thing. You're just a referring, and you actually have a license in insurance. That's different. You have to go to the state rules um, for that. So usually most insurances that I know, because I used to be employed by an insurance company, they have some form of licensing that they have to maintain through the state. So I'm pretty sure you have a license to the state, like you said, and you have to have some type of business. And depending on what type of entity structure that they're saying, whether it be an LLC or a partnership or whatever, there's some type of, because sometimes it's like lawyers, they have to have a LP, LPP or something like that, and then nurses have like an LPN. So it just depends on what type of business structure that they're requiring you to have. But either way, you have to have that registered with the state. There's usually rules and regulations for that. So you just need to check your state. And if you do, then you can utilize a tribal LLC. You'll still have to pay state taxes, but you wouldn't necessarily have to pay federal taxes. So because it's a tribal entity and it's federally exempt. Let me make sure I'm not sure. Oh damn. Okay. Um, but yes, yeah. If there's a specific aim or question, but I think I answered it. If you're trying to be tax exempt as a licensed insurance business, you're exempt federally, but not statewide. To get registered as a profit business. But if you're just a referral agent, that's a separate business. You can create a separate business structure where that entity is tax exempt. It can even be a holding company or unincorporated association, doesn't matter. And that business is just basically acting as a middleman. It's just referring people to the institution. The institution pays that business. Business doesn't have to report anything. Good to go. Um, so keep those questions coming. But yeah, that's how you would add. I just want to make sure to nip that in the butt. Okay, okay, cool. I just want to make sure that I answer that question. And then, does that make sense with the how do you add personal assets? So usually when you get a irrevocable trust from Arna, belong to your old name. Obviously, go to the new your new Aboriginal name if you did select a new name, and then from there you can manage your assets within that trust by adding things or removing things. So that's how you would do it. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, these are some good questions, y'all. Y'all keeping me on my toes. Um, so we got the trust, right? And again, you can do all this stuff where you receive some type of commission for music, writing, stuff like that. I'm just trying to give you zero ideas, right? Um, you said did you say a license is for profit? For the most part, if you have a license, they may ask you to register a specific type of business, such as an LLC, and so therefore that would be considered profit. Um, yes, holding company 501A, right? Business ideas that you can do. Again, holding assets, holding businesses, holding media, hold royalties, stuff like that. Managing real estate, vehicles, being an affiliate, right? Um, these are things you can do, right? And then you got partnerships. You can do like be a professional firm that has some form of doesn't have to have some form of licensing, but it can be in media or you could just be general consulting. You're just combining different skill sets that you have and making it a professional firm that you provide consulting. It could be a restaurant. Again, that one's kind of limited, but then you got food truck. And again, there's ways to get around these things. Maybe even a joint venture in real estate, right? So these are just some ideas to think about. And then you got the non 501c3s, right? Here's some ideas that people can and should be doing, right? You got a cultural education center that offers like the language, history, art classes, the real history, right? Not the made up history. So don't knock my head off for that. But community wellness centers, right? You can start one. Counseling programs, right? Using cosmology, right? For integrating, the cosmology aspect, spirituality, holistic healing with, you know, um, specific herbs and things of that nature that you can provide education to people. You can even start a museum, right? A heritage archive, right? Preserving all the artifacts, you know, preserving all the things that people have done and honored, all the great things, all the dissertations, right? All to generate basically revenue for you. Um, Zero money ideas. Virtual prayer meditation group. You can host free weekly Zooms and take voluntary donations. Well, I ain't got no money, Kojo. Here are some ideas. You can take them, get creative, and run with them. You can do this through different means. You can post the sermons or lessons on your YouTube channel for ad revenue or a digital culture library. Everybody should have that in their family. Okay. And then the 501d, right? The business idea behind this is like intentional living communities. So you can have living communities that have shared housing with businesses or just other people. Organic farm collective where people sell produce, herbs, medicines, goods, you know, seed banking. I'm just trying to throw out some ideas, right? Okay. We on the top of the hour. I know y'all like, oh man. um, but I'm telling y'all, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna refer when you at the bank, you be like, okay, coach, you're like, I'm at the bank right now. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. What happened to the camera? Did the camera just glitch on me? Glitched on me. That's crazy. Okay. Yeah. Let's go back. FBOs. Try with FBOs. You need to do a state registration. Once you do that, you'll be able to apply for the tax exemption at the state level. It's already tax exempt on the federal level. And I'll show you why. And then you can operate it as a trust because it's going to be connected to other businesses that you are operating, or it can just be just as an FBO, right? Either way, the idea behind this FBO is that none of the activities are subject to seizure, not subject to taxes. No reporting is required and is tax deductible. The same thing is with the 50 as far as like the 501c3 and 50d, but the difference with that is that those actually have reporting behind them. This one does not, and it's not subject to public scrutiny, which is very important because the 501c3 and the 501d are subject to public scrutiny. So that means people can see your filings, your 990s. They can go 990 for X business and they can see the records, subject to public scrutiny, right? What makes this very legal, right? This is very crystal clear. American Indian Religious Freedom Act. This is a Congress Act and it's directly connected to the First Amendment. So this is super important to make sure you understand. So when you're deciding on what type of business entities you want to look into starting, you have all the information now. Just try and make sure that you understand this and why this works. In this statute, they made one thing clear. They said Indian religious practices. Indian meaning member of an Indian tribe, not of a federally recognized tribe, not of a whatever, whatever rules that they be making up. It just says member of an Indian tribe. And an Indian tribe means a band, nation. It didn't say federally recognized band, like I'm telling you, when they say, "Oh, yo, Arna's not federally recognized," sorry, don't ignore it, because they don't know this statute if they talking like that. And plus, they maybe they do, and they're just trying to trip you up. Again, going back to the beginning where I told you that they would do things to trip you up. Right? Okay. Here's the proof that this is federally exempt. You can go to the IRS website and look it up. I I know that might be a little small, but basically it's stating that churches, that meet the requirement of Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code are automatically considered tax exempt and not required to apply and obtain recognition of exempt status from the IRS. I know y'all don't. So entity is telling you, oh no, you need to still pay. You need to pay the taxes. No, you don't, and you don't even have to apply for recognition because they'll ask you for the recognition, and they're like, hey, where's your determination letter? You say, let church say, hey, you, you funny. Now for real, hey, listen. Huh? Did y'all hear me? Like this is real scenario. Like I need y'all to pay attention. So y'all shouldn't be distraughted. Y'all shouldn't be like, man, I can't. It don't work, Kojo. Mm. I don't know what to tell you. You telling me that because I know it definitely works. So yeah, this is you need that. So main requirements that you need to make sure before you decide to start a tribal FBO within ARNA and new nationals who do get a tribal FBO, you're going to get this business automatically. But you need to make sure that you understand these requirements. Needs to be tied to your Indian religious culture. It's easy. That's done. Tied to cosmology, right? Tied, however you want to go about it. It needs to be philanthropic, right? Like philanthropic, excuse me. It needs to be some type of where you're giving back to the community. You're doing some type of thing that is good in nature, giving back. And there has to be some type of social good or social cause, like why for purpose. Like, and that's a question that only you can answer, right? I can't tell you how to answer it. I can only tell you what you should do, right? As far as like, try to make sure. I want to give y'all some examples of how that may look. So let me go to the next slide. Okay. I know I probably should have started this at the beginning, but we're here. These are businesses, but more importantly, they're tribal businesses. Right? There's no question. These are tribal businesses, therefore they're exempt. Anybody else is trying to do it, they're obviously infringing upon your right, which happens all the time because they don't think you know. And then you call them out and they're like, oh, shit, he knows or she knows. The other thing you got to know with your business is nobody's going to help you stay organized in your financial transactions. So you can use, and this goes for people who become jurists, tribal jurists within ARNA, tribal medical doctors, genealogists. keep your stuff organized where you can see the financial transactions are taking place. What's going in, what's coming out. Talk about some of those specifics too. Um, right? You can write off the taxes for you as an individual with the tribal FBO. So the tribal FBO or the tribal business doesn't need to file taxes, but you can if you want to reduce your tax burden and get basically what's the better word compensation coming back to you. Make sure you have a good payment system and multiple, not just one. So that means you could use Square, PayPal, Cash App, Square, Squarespace, your bank, payment services and stuff like that. That's how they really make their money is by getting you to sign up, getting their terminal or whatever the case is, right? I'm saying all these things because when it comes time when you're wanting to basically receive your payment because know what's going in, what's coming out, and being able to write it off, right? You'll be able to do that and save money and put more money back into your family's pocket where you can do more things. But you do need to be operating as a business. That's the mindset that you need to have. Like I need to make sure that it's very crystal clear. So when you're going and doing your businesses as a whether it be in media, tribal jurists, cosmologists, genealogists, whatever, you got to stay organized. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next slide. Here's some examples of tribal businesses. I know you're like, oh, Coach, we know about Mastermind Comics. It's an example. I got to use that as an example. Storytelling, circles, stories of indigenous people, arts and culture ministry, tribal care, YG Urban Cafe or community. You know, they do the tribal rites of passage. You know, teaching young youth as family and community action, right? America Pirates, sharing of cosmology and other indigenous communities while educating them in the process. That's Ministry of Cosmology. I'm just trying to give you examples of how your FBO thought process should be going when you're creating it and when you're receiving it as a new national, right? So we literally have gone through some important stuff from start to finish. And we did it within a reasonable time frame, an hour, with some questions in between. So you have to have yourself organized. You have to know that you're not trying to avoid paying taxes. What you're trying to do is start a business, protect your assets while saving money and putting more money or economics or building your economics back into your family's household while creating and structuring and organizing your purpose at the same time. Okay. Got to give you those examples. So, again, to nail home the tribal FBO stuff, it reduces your tax burden, y'all. You're saving money. So that means you, as the individual paying taxes, you could be donating your time and services to your tribal FBO or another tribal FBO, and you can write that off. You can expense it. Hell, if you get scammed by somebody, you can expense it. Count that as a loss. There's literally a code for scams and losses. You can write that off. Okay. That wouldn't be a nonprofit. So the category of how they list it is a nonprofit, right? But really it's a faith-based organization. Tribal FBO stands for Tribal Faith-Based Organization, but it's under the category of 501c3, which is considered to be a nonprofit, but it's still a faith-based organization, and that's how it's classified. So even when you do a state registration for your tribal FBO, you do it as a nonprofit because it's still under the 501c3 umbrella, but it doesn't require a determination letter. It's automatically exempt. So hopefully that answers that question. Protected with the activities that you're doing. So long as everything's documented, you contract properly. That's probably what I didn't even touch on. I'm gonna touch on that right now. Make sure that you're contracting properly, right? You're like, well, Kojo, like, I don't contract. Why would I do a contract? If you don't do a contract, not only are you exposing yourself to somebody and maybe their shenanigans, but it protects you. And then you also need to do a non-disclosure to protect you and your operations in case something does arise, right? You be like non-disclosure. You're like, that's not needed. Okay. You want to do these things because even though they may be considered your family member, blood, whatever, it could be your best friend, whatever the case is, doesn't matter. You just do these contracts to hold both you and the other person or other parties accountable. Like when you open up a bank account, you are signing a contract. They're like, hey, just so if anything does happen, you are responsible and you will pay. So it's a normal transaction to have contracts in place because it lays out what the rules of engagement are. You're like, oh, y'all don't know how. I don't know how to create a contract. You heard that? That's your coins going out the window. So all you got to do is go to ChatGPT and just draft up a contract and say, hey, draft me up a contract for XYZ. Boom. They'll spit it out. Get creative. Use technology to your advantage, right? So hopefully that makes sense because if you don't do a contract and you do business with somebody and they do something that impacts you or they are holding something, you heard that sound? That's death to your business. All right. So now that we talked about contracts, it's pretty easy. So, and then you, with the FBO, it protects your tribal assets and your finances. Make sure you read and understand and then just communicate the rules. That's it. Not hard. All right. Now you're at a point you're like, okay, I get the structures. I got all that stuff. It's starting to make sense, Kojo. All right. What type of business are you? Are you a service-based business? Are you a product-based services? Or you are both hybrid? You offer both. And there's nothing wrong with doing both. But you just need to be practical about everything that you're doing, that you're applying and stuff like that. It needs to fall in line with your strengths and skills, right? Because if you're not if it's not your wheelhouse, you're not really feeling the energy, you don't feel connected to it, you're not creating it as part of your intentions, you're gonna give up on the earliest sign of failure or feedback. Let's just call it feedback. Um, I know it says anything luxurious. Anyway, the whole point of what I'm trying to explain is that nationals or people who get businesses from us within Arna understand what type of products and services you're offering. And there's a difference between the two. Services is usually it's intangible. So it has to be something a person perceives as valuable. And then can you duplicate over? This is something that you can maybe put on autopilot eventually down the road, right? But it's just stuff that you want to think about. Products. You want to make sure that you have something that people want that's tangible, right? Good quality, stuff like that, right? And then you'll get feedback. Website. It is 2025 15 111, about to be 15 112 2026. You need to have a website, even if it's basic. They have templates literally out there. Shopify, Wix, Square, GoDaddy. It don't matter. They have templates. You pick in place. So this is for the people who or asking, okay, can I, sit down with you and, you make it where it's really nice. And all you do is plug and play. You just ship whatever you're trying to do, and then you like, oh, boom, 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 chit, chat, pop, pop, done. And then you making your coins. Because if you don't have a website, and I know people are like, well, Kojo, if you don't have a website, this is what's happening. Coins. You're losing your rings. Okay? All right. Let's talk through just this right here. I know we talked about the operations. So we went over the operations, we went over the finances with the bank account, having things separate, payment processing system. Now, your product design or service design, or your service layout, or your service system, you need to have this organized. How do you get this organized? You have data, meaning you've thrown it out there to people and you've received feedback like, oh yeah, that was a really good service that you offer. I told actually a couple of people about it. Let me know if they hit you up or they actually purchase it, da da da. And then if they do that more than once, then you'll have a referral based business, from one person that you did a really high on or good product. Then you can always open up the window of like, hey, would you be interested in being an affiliate? Contract in place for that, right? Draft up the contract, do all that stuff, and then boom, you have another person that's actually selling for you for your business and promoting just what you offer. Quality control. It happens to all businesses. Why is the cash flow important? Because sometimes you have product that did not make it, went to the wrong address, a service that wasn't completed, or bad product. And as a business, you need to be able to address that, fix that, resolve that. Usually you can resolve that through your quality processes. If you're operating processes where it has products, you want to make sure that you look at, okay, is everything good with it? Is there no cracks? There's no mold, no nothing. Does it work? Does it actually do what it's going to do? You check it out before you send it out, because what's going to happen is you're going to do more work and you're going to lose more revenue. This is what's going to happen. You get a return. You be like, hey, this thing didn't work. What happened? I never got the product. Someone's out the window. You be like, hey, brother, what happened? Someone's out the window. That's what's happening. You're losing money. Rings going out the door. So you do that, and then you obviously, why is forecasting? Is data driven. The reason why you want to have forecasting, because you want to understand your business. You're going to know that there's going to be good cycles of your business, and there's going to be kind of like okay cycles, and there's going to be really, really slumps, depending on what's going on. And then obviously the economic times and stuff like that with people. But you should understand the trend of your business. Where you low, you're going to have some really, really highs during particular seasons and some really, really lows, maybe some mediums. So you just need to understand that, and that's how you're going to be able to forecast. So you're going to be like, okay, I know I'm scheduled to project to make 30 year from this business, because I have 10,000 strong at the beginning, 5,000 in the middle, and then 15,000 towards the holiday season, right? So that's how you want to do it. And then you want to have your strategy in place. Your strategy is always going to be changing, adjusting, you making adjustments to it because things may not be working properly, or you're getting feedback and maybe it's not going as well as you thought it was. So these are things that you want to do, you want to understand. And then the supply chain, right? If you're getting herbs from a different source, you want to make sure that you can still get those. You ever get an herb that you was getting that was your main source, and they said, hey, we're not getting it no more? You know what happens when they hit you with that? You got to find somebody else that you got to qualify. That's more money, that's more time that you have to invest to make sure that your supplier that you're about to be buying from meets your level of standard. Because if you don't, coins go out the window, rings go out the window. Okay? So I know y'all like, damn, coach. I'm like, why? I'm telling y'all, don't call me about no banking issues. Don't call me about no business. I'm just gonna send you this video. um, on to the investment part of the seminar. I think this is going to help bridge the gap with everything, with businesses, opening up business bank accounts, utilizing our tribal businesses, just understanding what type of entity you have. What do you? Oh, that was another thing. I just want to make sure. Let me go. There's one slide. Just need to make sure we are on the same page. Before I move on, the trust account. So here's one thing I want to make sure that all nationals are clear about. In the past, you used to get, a trust as your first business, right? And this is just in general moving forward. You don't show the full irrevocable trust agreement. And it even says that in your instruction documents. So if you got a trust document or a trust business, you would give them the 2-page document, lays it all out and stuff like that. You get that notarized, but you never give them the full irrevocable trust. There's no need to. Per the instructions. Okay. If there's no questions on that, I'm gonna just make sure I'm gonna hold the floor. I'm gonna hold the space. If there's no questions so far about business, your business type of entity, structure it, and here it goes and maybe I didn't talk about this too. I probably should. But as far as like your your parent structure, I've talked about this in previous videos, but it really is on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to carry out operations. So it goes back into what I was talking about with the operations. What do you want as the parent company? Do you want a holding company as the parent company? Do you want a FBO as the parent company? Do you want the trust as a parent company? And then you have other subsidiaries underneath that, such as a holding company, FBO, maybe even a tribal LLC, all doing different operations, different things, right? Um, these are things that you can put together. So the easiest way, and this is the same thing I just keep referring people to because this is the easiest example I use, is Disney, right? Disney has a kind of a layout of companies, right? And I'll show you an example of like what it actually looks like. And it goes deep, right? So let me see. Let me see if it shows it like really well. Yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna share this screen real quick, just so you get the idea of where I'm coming from. Boom, 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 boom. Tab. All right. Y'all see this, right? This is a little bit disorganized, but you get the idea. Disney is the parent company. Underneath that, it has subsidiaries. Disney Consumer Products, Disneyland. That's physical. Disneyland is basically nothing but a real estate holding company. Then you have Marvel, digital art, right? Then you have ESPN, right? Again, media, ABC. These are all different parts of the business. And then you have Walt Disney Studios doing the animation. Then you have Lucasfilms that has a particular brand, Pixar. All these are particular brands on their own, but they're still a Disney company. So that's how you have to think about it when you're structuring the different businesses that you have. They are each their own individual brand underneath a parent company. Disney has a same thing with Marvel, same thing with Lucasfilm, same thing with Pixar, which is why they are not changing the name of them. Sometimes you'll see where businesses get acquired and they change the name. They'll say such and such, formerly known as by, or a Disney company, whatever the case. They'll do that sometimes, but these companies don't need to do that. So you just have to think about these things as you're creating and starting businesses. I know you're like, man, you went somewhere, so but that's how you have to think about it. So that's where the organization structure of your businesses keeps things organized. Each business has its own GDP, its own IP, its own service products. And you can sometimes cross the two where they are basically supporting each other or they're helping offer a particular package service or they're partnering, collaborating. But that's up to your operations. So that's why I just want to make sure that you understand that. And if there's any other questions on the business stuff right now, I'm trying to make sure that I cover some of the important things. Oh, I know I probably didn't cover this too. Um, Business funding. We can talk about that briefly. This is for nationals that or people who are like, hey, I don't I don't know how to get started. How do I get business credit? Right. So I'll just come through it pretty briefly. There's two ways to go about it. They still do it the dinosaur way, which is you get a Dun and Bradstreet number, a DNB number. It's free. You shouldn't have to charge. You just register your company's information. We may walk through that um, at a different time, but I'll show you what that may look like. DNB. Number. Request the DUNS number. Let me share. Burr indeed. Share this tab. So you should be able to see my screen now. Okay. So hold on. Yeah, so they'll always try to hit you with the, hey, listen, you can get your DUNS number so quick, expedite, because they'll take their sweet time. Okay, let them take their time. Sometimes you can call them and they'll rush it. But you don't and you shouldn't have to pay for that DUNS number. It's free. So let me see. Get your free. Look, it even says right here. Get started. US based business. General purpose. Then you would create an account. I don't have time to go through this. Once you create the account, they're going to ask all the information about your business. And I think I wasn't even sharing my screen. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So I'll go back and do this real quick. So get a DUNS number for free. It says get started now. Don't pay the fee. Click here. You're requesting for general purposes, right? You sign into your account. You just create an account. Pretty easy. Then what they ask you is, let me see, just typical questions. The number, application form. Just want to see some questions. Since things have changed. So basically, they'll ask you for your legal business name, your DBA or your fictitious name, the physical mailing address, phone number, email address, what type of business structure. They'll have LLC, corporation, sole proprietorship. I don't think they have unincorporated listed. Trust. They'll have different structures. You'll select the one that best appropriates for your business. Keep that in mind. The year your business, how many employees you have, what is your primary industry, and your SIC code. Website, if applicable, right? If you don't have a web, well, we're not even about to do that. You do have a website. You have to have a website in 2025. And basically, the SIC stands for like the Standard Industrial Classification. How would this business be classified? They have these classification numbers for the different industries. You just select the one that you are starting for your business. Okay. Yo, peace to the guy. Oh, did I lose connection? Okay, I'll just make sure. What is the best day to register a business? Which to avoid? Really depends on what is the goal of the business, right? So I've seen it where people wanted to do it a day like a Jack of Diamonds day. Jack of Diamonds is really, really good entrepreneurs, really good at business. As you can see, we have a really good example of that. We have Chief, who's a Jack of Diamonds, right? And there's other Jack of Diamonds that I know that they will register on a particular day. So it just depends on the energies that you want to have with that business. Maybe you want to teach. So maybe you want to have a 10 of clubs day that you register a business, and that be the main focus is that you're teaching what you're trying to offer to people. So it really just depends. So I would pose the question, want that business to have. It's just like creating a child. What is the energies you want the child to have? So you just look at each day based off of the what the birth card is going to have, the planetary ruler, planetary number, the energies that you're wanting to have. Maybe you want to have where it's just strictly diamonds. So you do August, I think the first, no, August 2nd. Yes, August the 2nd, Queen of Diamonds, straight Queen of Diamonds. So it just really depends. EIN, done, DBA, and DUNS number. Close them or transfer them. So I would tell you that if there's business credit, business credit profile that you have with that previous EIN, close it out. Because if it's registered as a standard business where it owes taxes and stuff like that, so that way you're not responsible for taxes and stuff like that. It's not treated as a 14th artificial person. But if it is a tribal business and maybe there's a particular attachment to the name, the brand, there's some ways that you can basically business as that entity. You may have to alter the name, and then you can obviously transfer it. So it just really depends. What's the goal? Does it have good business credit? You don't. You never want to waste a resource or asset. But if it doesn't make sense to have it, because it doesn't have a good business profile, you can close it. So that would be Dun & Bradstreet. Trying to make sure that I covered that portion. So yeah, you have all that, you fill that out. Then your next thing that you would want to do is you can do a 411 listing. You should do a 411 listing. It's free. Like 411. Huh? it's just another way for people to find your business, right? Um, Let me see if I can pull it up. And it's another place you can list. It's free. It's basically a business directory. So let me see if I can share this tab. I should be able to see my screen. But yeah, you can do it individual or your business. You list it. Boom, you're done. You should also do a Google listing as well. Let me see. Google listing. Where are you? Let's start sharing that. Oh, there it is. Here's your business listing on Google. Hmm, that's interesting. Okay. Did it just kick me off? Yes, sir. You already know, God. I'm excited for December. We're gonna be cooking some more. Um, yeah. So you do the Google listing. I think they've updated since then, so it shouldn't be that difficult to get it done. But yeah, you do this. You start now. You get your business profile created. Literally asks you for simple things: your business name, business category. You put it yourself. I don't think I can. You'll put the phone number, your address, operation of times, phone number, website, and then people be able to leave reviews for you. You know what I mean? So the idea is that you have visibility, you have traffic coming in because that's I probably didn't even touch on that. Is that you want traffic coming into your business. This is how people are going to be familiar with what you do. If people don't know how to find you, they don't know how to contact you, you don't have reviews, you haven't built trust with them because people are like, ooh, I don't know. Like they don't I don't see any reviews. People look at reviews. They're like, oh, he got a 2-star rating. You hear that? That is the sound of rings going out the door, coins leaving you. And I I know people are like, but that doesn't. You're gonna be screaming when you ain't got no business coming in. So I'm doing that tongue in cheek, but you want to have reviews, you want to have testimonies. This is a good sign that you know what you're doing, your business is offer good services and stuff like that. So it's key, very important. So that's another aspect that you want to add. Um, oh man, it's crazy out here. Um, Make sure that that's good. Okay, I know I'm like going all over the place, but that's important. So you have that. We talked about the traffic. There's plenty of ways to drive traffic. How do you drive traffic to your business? You drive traffic to your business through having listings. You also drive traffic by having reviews. You also drive traffic by media, social. You can do free work for people, and people will refer you. They're like, "Oh yeah, man, I really like." They came through. They were very competent. They know what they were. They were very nice. Good customer service. Like I probably skipped that, and that was very important. I'm sorry. Custom. Let me take this off the screen because I need y'all to look at me when I say customer service. Customer service is what help your business thrive. You ever had a bad experience at a business? What did you do? You didn't do business no more with them. You're like, mm, I don't like that business. Nothing's going out the door. So good customer service is very important for your business. You're like, you can have AI assistant do that for you, like AI chat. That'll do the customer service aspect.
Some of that stuff is like questions that it should be able to answer. Um, but I know I'm like going back and forth with y'all. Business credit. So you could do net 30 terms. This is I'm telling y'all the slow and old fashioned way. Net 30 terms, you can use NAV. NAV is a place where you can use to check history, business credit. You use Uline, Shirtsy, Granger. You just need 4 to 8 of these accounts reporting net 30. Spend $50 or so for like 3 months or so, maybe even less, but it just needs to be reporting. Then you can move on to getting a fleet card or a gas card, an Office Max card. In the 3 months. Then you can apply for Wells Fargo business credit card if you have a bank with, if you have a account with Wells Fargo, or PNC, right, or American Express. That's probably not a good example, but PNC, Navy Federal Union, Bank of Oklahoma, Bank Key Bank. They offer these. Capital One. You can move on to the next one where you go get a Sam's credit card, an Amazon credit card, Capital One, Spark, and then you can apply for loans, right? So why am I telling you all this stuff? Well, excuse me. It's a way for you to have resources where you can take to buy, do what you need to do for your business operations as one form of revenue or source resource. Um, you can do another way, which is you can just go to Capital One. You're like Capital One Spark, yes. Um, and let me see if I can, because I'm not about to go through that whole thing. Because you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to pull up a whole video and just show y'all where you can find it. The idea is that this is supposed to be comprehensive and be helpful. So, all right. Share this one instead. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Okay, this is a video you can watch. It's on any of the platforms, whether it be Shabazz or WAP. How to quickly improve your business credit, right? Walks you through how to do just some ideas of business credit. That's all I'm gonna say. Keep it like that. Okay. That way, why am I telling you to do that way? Because it reports one to your personal and also to your business. So therefore, you're building credit, improving your business, your personal as well. But the thing is, you're leveraging your good personal credit to get business credit, and then it reports to both places. Boom. So that's the cheat code. You can do it that way, and then you can utilize that once you've utilized it long enough, maybe like 3 months or so, maybe 4 or 5 months. And you can move on to apply to different ones like American Express, right? They have their own business credit card that you utilize through Amazon. So I'm just trying to give you ideas. Another way that you could do utilizing resources is, let's say you have a life insurance policy that you've had for a long time, like a long time, and it's been generating, and I'm talking about a accrued interest bearing life insurance, whole life insurance policy. That means you can withdraw from that. If you build enough equity into that, you could withdraw that and utilize it for whatever business ventures that you're trying to do, whether it be in real estate or whatever the case is. It's just an idea, or just business expenses that eventually you know you're going to pay back because you forecasted that you're going to make X amount on this time, so you'll be able to put the money right back into the life insurance policy. And if you don't, I guess it gets subtracted from it. But you can only do that so often before they actually end up canceling the policy. You don't want that. Another thing is you can do equity if you have real estate. So if you have real estate, if you have equity into your particular property, house, you can borrow against it. Basically, they'll create a loan against it, and then you can utilize it to do whatever you're trying to accomplish. But you need to have a plan for that because you still need to pay that loan off because basically a second mortgage. Um, So I'm just trying to give you ideas of like there's many ways of funding. You don't have to go. And then another business credit card that you can tap into is Mission Lane. That's I've recommended before in the past. Capital on Tap. We've already mentioned PNC. Um, just trying to give you some ideas, right? Just trying to give you some ideas. Okay. Any any questions so far? I think I've covered kind of a wide range of what you probably need to know, whether you're getting a new business or you have a business, you nationalize and you received a business, how to open up the bank account, how to get business credit, operations and finances, records, what type of business it is. I'm just trying to make sure you understand that I'm not going to be answering questions like that as far as like the specifics, because I'm just going to refer to the video. So I'm pretty sure I'll do another one. I usually do one usually once a year, but it'll be shorter. So, any questions? If there's no questions, I'm about to move on because I think I've covered what you need to know. Okay, moving on. Here's something that recommends you invest in or just looking to invest in, right? Invest with roots. It's kind of a win-win situation with real estate investing. So it's basically a REIT, but there's something about this that I like. Um, hold on. Somebody asked me a question. If I already have a PNC bank, can I transfer into the tribal bank? Oh no, remember, that's a separate account. So you want to, if we go back to what I was talking about, man, that was at the very was that at the very beginning? It might have been at the very beginning. Here, you need to have your own personal account. Business needs to have its own account to keep separation, keep things organized. So if you have a personal account with PNC already, they should allow you to open up a business bank account with them as well. You just got to have the documents and their requirements that they're looking for the type of business that you're opening. Um, you could do it that way, or you could go to a different institution. You should have multiple business bank accounts. I probably didn't say that. You should have multiple business bank accounts with different institutions, different financial institutions. So that way, if one goes down, you have other options. You're not locked in. You're not stuck. Not all your money's locked in. So to answer your question, it'll be a separate new account. Okay. Let me finish talk. I'm gonna talk about the investment roots. I'm telling you. So it's a win-win situation. So I like them. They're very similar to REITs. It basically is a REIT, but with as little as $100, right? Little as $100, right? You can invest into basically different portfolios that, and you don't accredited investor. So they have low transaction fees. Um, so and there's no penalty for cashing out after the first year. So that's really a good deal. They have quarter liquidity, so um, which is not common. That usually does not happen. Shit. Hold on, y'all hit me with the. Yes, that is being done in the works. There's some things that I'm working with a particular person. I need to thank you for reminding me because there was something I was supposed to do as far as following up with that person. So I'm gonna do that right now as we speak. But yes, still working on that, and that's still coming. Um, let me see. Thank you for that, God, because I didn't hear back from that person. Yep, here it is. Peace. Okay. Yeah. So still coming. To be. Stay tuned. We are still dealing with that. So I know I mentioned this, and it's basically a win-win scenario, right? Um, like I said, $100. Roots does all the work, does the maintenance and all this other stuff, and you basically, you and the renters build wealth together. So like, that's really not bad. So if you wanna find more about this, just go to investwithroots.com and check it out. You ain't got nothing else to lose. So anyway, I think that wraps it up for Indigenous Business Operations 2025. So I'm going to take that off the screen. Is there any other questions for this seminar slash class? Just want to make sure that we cover. I'm trying to make sure that I cover most things that people have questions on, that people typically call and ask about. Oh, I probably didn't cover this too. So you should be able to um, set up your grants.gov account. So you'll be able to apply for grants. You'll be able to bid on government contracting, right? And obviously, these things have different requirements, different regulations. You can even bid on contracts through your local county, your local state as well, which is really good. So that's another place for you to actually bring in revenue. And then you can apply for grants, like I said, through grants.gov, because have things organized, structured, you'll be able to apply for the particular grants that you're looking for, right? So I'm just trying to cover all aspects of what you're needing. You go to sam.gov, get all that stuff registered for government contracting, and then for your state or website, and then register, right? Is there a limit on how many 508c1A businesses one can have? No, there's really no limit. Really, it depends on like what's the goal, right? What is the goal? Like, do you want? Because remember, a 508c1A has to meet three things. That's the key thing. It has to be tied to your indigenous, religious, nature, culture, philanthropic, excuse me. I don't know why I do that. And it has to be a some type of social good or social cause. So you can set up as many as you want. You just got to be able to operate them. Or if you're not operating, you're giving them, or however you're having other people manage it for you. But there's no limit. For the roots investment, how are we bringing in revenue, and do we put that under FBO? No, you would use a tribal holding company or a unincorporated association, right? And you bring revenue, or they bring in revenue by the rents that are paid to those properties that you're invested in, and then they have like quarterly dividends that get paid out to you for the amount of money that you invest in, and they even have it where you can track it. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I have that on my screen. I don't know if they show that. Yeah, so they have a place where you can see your portfolio, so you can track it, see how much you've invested in, what's coming in, what's going out. So that's how you would. It's basically the same thing as a REIT, and I've recommended another REIT before to y'all before, Fundrise, but this one, less penalties, less fees, really good. Um, and plus you're investing and your money goes a little bit longer with the renters that you're helping find housing essentially. So it's just another avenue to put your dollar to work, versus sitting in a savings account where it's losing value every day. You see how much trillions of dollars have been printed. So hopefully that answers that question. What other questions y'all got? I'm telling y'all, don't don't drop the rings. Don't drop your coins. Don't be leaving money on the table because it's gonna be heart wrenching when you just lost $10,000. That's how you gonna be sounding. Um, but any other questions? I'm gonna give y'all some time. Oh, did I ever talk about this though? Um, but if you have if you have your business structured, hold on, I think the camera turned off on me. Let me switch. That's a good sign. It's probably time to go. If you have your business structured where, let's say, a business is holding assets and you're wanting it to transfer over to a different business, that's as easy as drafting up a contract, a document that you get notarized, and then transfer it over. The other thing that I probably didn't mention is that the articles that you do get, like what I've shown on the screen before, I'm just sharing my screen just so that this is easy to follow. You can edit the articles as needed. You can add certain things that you like, okay, yeah, such and such will be able to take over the business if they meet XYZ condition or blah, 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 blah. So you can modify these articles to fit your need of what type of business you're operating. It's not set in stone. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there. Um, some of the verbiage is, set in stone, but as far as like what type of business it is, what you're trying to do, all this other stuff, you can modify that. And you should modify that, to fit whatever standard of business that you're operating. So, okay. I think that'll do it. If there's no other questions, I'll give y'all 2 minutes to ask questions because otherwise, it has been 2 hours. I appreciate y'all's time and attention in today's class. So I'll give y'all 2 minutes. Um, and also, hopefully, y'all are getting ready. Y'all have set really good habits. I know we've talked about this before, but really good habits of how you want to structure your businesses, your partner with people as far as marketing efforts. Um, the marketing doesn't have to be difficult. It can be really easy with, I guess, good, solid partnerships that are qualified. Um, you are welcome and keep up doing. Woot woot. Yeah, it's been a minute, y'all. I know it's been like probably a month and a half since I've done class and seminar, but I wanted to make sure that we got this one done for the books for the year because I want to make sure that everybody has the gems and tools they need to get their business off and going. So, and then we'll have another class next week too. But if there's no other questions, y'all, appreciate y'all's time and attention. If I said you or call you out and they, that meant no harm by it, it's just using it as a teachable moment. Otherwise, this video is going to be saved. This is going to be used as a reference video so that, you ain't got no questions. You say, what? How can I hire you, guy? I need you on the team. Oh man, you say you want to hire me? We could do like a what you call it? Retainer. I have a retainer contract that if you wanted to put me on your team or have me do something, there's a retainer fee for that. So if you want that, let me know. Just send an email. So other than that, I appreciate y'all's time and attention tonight. Go enjoy y'all's time with y'all's family, and because I'm going to enjoy mine. Y'all welcome. We're gonna save this video. We're gonna see y'all next week. Peace, family. We out here.